Hello everyone. In the previous lecture we talked about Slinky. Asked a question about Slinky. So when this Slinky is suspended in this way, the question is, when I release this one, the upper portion of the Slinky comes down, that is falls down, later the downward. So why this happens? So for that, let us find out how many forces are acting on this Slinky, on the upper portion of the Slinky. First let us find the forces acting on the upper part of the coil, that is named as U, and lower part of the coil named as L. So when the Slinky is suspended, the forces acting on the upper coil is first one, downward spring force. So the spring force will be acted in downward direction, that is F, and the weight of the Slinky W will be acted in downward direction. Similarly, the upward reaction force from the support, this is R. So initially the Slinky is at rest, so the net force acting on the Slinky is 0. So therefore R is equal to mg plus F. When it is released, then since there is no contact, so the reaction force will be 0. Right? When the Slinky is released, the spring force continuously increases, and that spring force will try to pull this upper part in downward direction. So the net force F net is equal to F plus mg. So the acceleration A is equal to acceleration of the upper coil, AU is equal to F plus mg by m, where m is mass of the sling. Similarly, let us find out the forces acting on the lower part. So on the lower part, the spring force will be acted in upward direction, and weight of the Slinky, that is mg, in downward direction. Initially the Slinky is at rest, so therefore F naught is equal to 0, therefore F will be balanced by mg. When the Slinky gets released, then what happens? The spring force tries to pull this coil, that is lower part of the coil, in upward direction. The spring force try to pull this lower part in upward direction. Okay. So therefore, when released, F net is equal to mg minus capital F, where F is the spring force. So therefore, acceleration of the lower part where is equal to mg minus F by m. Okay. So here AU is equal to G plus F by m. AL is equal to G minus F by m. Okay. So the acceleration of the upper part is more than the lower part, isn't it? So that's why the upper part moves faster in comparison with the lower part. The spring tries to compress, isn't it? So after initial compression, then what happens? F becomes 0. The spring force F becomes 0. Later on, AU is equal to AL is equal to G. So the Slinky falls down with G acceleration. Did you understand? Hello. Many students ask me to explain rigid body dynamics. Of course, it is very important as for mains, NEET and advanced level, such competitive exams. So let us know this one in a detailed manner. So, but before going to that, what is a rigid body? So, in physics, rigid body is a body in which deformation is zero. That means the distance between any 2 points on a rigid body is constant with time regardless the external forces exerts on it. So though we apply a force, the distance between 2 points on a rigid body should not change. Then that body is said to be a rigid body. But if I want to be mathematically very correct, there is no such rigid body. But for application purpose, we will consider that as a rigid body. For example, I am considering this as a rigid body. So, if I apply a force, the distance between these two particles should not change. For this application, it is a rigid body. Did you understand? So, rigid body is nothing but the distance between any 2 points should not change. That body is said to be a rigid body. So, rigid body contains so many number of particles, that is group of particles or system of particles. So, this rigid body moves, that is the system of particles move. Here also there are some motions. There are some special kinds of motion. In that first one, pure translational. Pure translational motion. So what is pure translational motion? Anybody? We will say a body is moving in a straight path. That motion of the body is said to be translatory, right? So what is a pure translatory motion? For example, so I have taken this one. Let us observe this. Observe the motion of this one. So is it a pure translation? Is it a pure translatory motion? Think. For example, if a body is in motion, if a body is moving, then if at any given instant velocity of all the particles should be same. So if at any given instant velocity of all the particles should be same. So here if I say velocity here, since velocity is a vector quantity, so we have to talk about direction and magnitude. So here at any given instant, the direction of velocity of all the particles should be same and the magnitude of velocity of all the particles should be same at a given instant. If you go for another instant, it will be different. But at that instant also, everything should be same. Did you understand? So that type of motion is called pure translatory motion. Okay? So here, this is the body. If I am rotating, if this body is moving like this, so here to here, let us consider two bodies. The two bodies are moving in this way, isn't it? For example, if the body is moving in this way, the two bodies, the two particles of this body are moving up, right? So at this instant, everything is going up. Similarly, at this instant, everything is moving in this way, in forward direction. So it's a pure translatory motion. All of you understood? So there is another kind of motion, that is pure rotational motion. Or rotation about the fixed axis. So, the second category of motion, the second type of motion is a rotation about a fixed axis. Axis is nothing but a straight line. So, if each particle of the body of the rigid body move in a circle or a circular part. So this is the first condition. Second condition, the centers of all these circles lie on the axis. The third one is on the planes of circles lie perpendicular to the axis. So if these three criteria are met, so what is the first one? Every particle of the rigid body moves in a circular path, moves in a circle. It's not necessary to complete the circle, but the path should be a circle. Okay? Next, second one. The centers of all the circles, all the centers of all the circles must lie on this axis. Third one is, all the planes of the circles lie perpendicular to the axis. So if these three criteria are met, then we can say that the body is in rotation about a fixed axis. Okay? Now let me show you something. So here I have a pendulum-like body. I have taken a piece of chalk and it is tied to a thread. So, will it represent a rotation about the fixed axis? Will this motion represent a rotation about the fixed axis? Yes. Where is the axis of rotation? Horizontal, right? And these particles are moving in this way. So the centers of all these circles are lying here, that is on the axis. Understood? Next. For example, if any person came to me and he asked, are you the faculty of chemistry? Then what I will say, since I am a physics lecturer, I will say no. Isn't it? So is this a rotation about the fixed axis? Is this motion? Yes. The circles are like this, isn't it? The circles are in this way. And where is the axis of rotation? Horizontal. Isn't it? For example, if I am a person belonging to Maharashtra and the answer which I have to say is affirmative, that means I have to say yes. Then I have to say in this way. So here the planes of the circles are in this way, isn't it? Did you understand? So this is about a rotation about a fixed axis. So these three criteria should be met. It's not necessary that they should complete a circle, but their path should be circle. So each particle of the body moves in a circle or a circular path. Next, all the centers of all the circles lie on this axis. The third one is all the planes of the circles will lie perpendicular to the axis. So this is about rotation about the fixed axis. Now let us talk about the basic parameters which will be coming in circular motion. Okay, like angular displacement and angular velocity denoted by omega, angular acceleration denoted by alpha, torque denoted by tau. Next, angular momentum denoted by L. So let us take a rod of length L which is pivoted at this particular point O. It was pivoted. Let the length of the rod be R. It will be the radius, right? Now consider a particle, consider point A. Since it is pivoted and it is in rotatory motion, here after some time delta t, this point will be at this point. So let it be point B. So the point A has covered some angular displacement theta. Okay, did you understand that? So here the angular displacement is theta. The rate of change of angular displacement is called angular velocity. So that means omega is equal to delta theta by delta t. This is the average angular velocity. The instantaneous angular velocity omega instant is equal to, as delta t tending to 0, then it will be d theta by dt. Okay? So here the linear velocity, it will be in this way, tangential to the path. So let it be vt. Okay? Let the distance from A to B, let it be s. We know that length of the arc is equal to radius into theta. So s is equal to r into theta. So on differentiating with time, then it will be ds by dt is equal to r into d theta by dt. So this is a linear velocity or the tangential velocity. V is equal to r omega. So here omega is the angular velocity. If the body is moving in anti-clockwise direction, the direction of the angular velocity will be in which direction? So that will be given by right hand thumb rule. The curling of the fingers represent the circular motion, and the thumb represents direction of angular velocity. Okay? So the angular velocity direction will be away from the board. If it is moving in a clockwise direction, then it will be in this way. Did you understand? So V is equal to r omega. Similarly, in vector rotation, if you want to write V bar is equal to, it is not r bar plus omega bar, it is omega bar plus r bar. So before going to wind up this session, I want to ask a small question. For example, let us take a stone. Let it be a stone. It is a type 2, a string or a thread. and it is being rotated in this way. For example, in horizontal circle, it is whirled in a horizontal circular motion. Okay. Now let us take same stone, and but the thread is replaced by, here we have taken a normal string. So we have taken a normal string and we are whirling it. Will you face any difficulty in rotating this one? In which case you will feel difficulty, in this case or in this case? Or in both the cases you will feel the same. So think about this one and post your answers in your comment box. Okay? Thank you.